Welcome to Bully Ball, presented by DraftKings. I am Rachel Nichols. As always, Mr. DeMarcus Cousins, still in Taiwan. And greetings, my friend, Isaiah Thomas. Always nice to have you back. Gentlemen, I just want to say one of us is supporting over here with the outfit, and one of us isn't. So,
What
do you
is
think,
that,
Bug?
Rich?
This is the team you're currently playing for.
Oh, man, I appreciate that.
Oh,
That's
come
so
on,
dope.
come on. I need some gear too. Can I get a hat or something to show my love?
Nah,
Look at
you
this.
rocking the nice fitted today. You got the S
Oh
Dome on today, so
yeah.
you in a good place, man.
Starting out with good
Yeah, I
energy
was going to say,
today.
you're good. You're good,
Yeah.
IT. I just want you to know, even though you're far away, Boog, we're with you.
I
So
appreciate you, Rich, always, man.
you didn't miss it because I know you watched them from over there, but man, some amazing game sevens happened over here in the States yesterday.
Absolutely.
Two road teams winning. I mean, just not what we would expect. And I want to start with what happened in the West. Minnesota erasing a 20-point deficit, taking down the champs in a game seven on the road. Minnesota outscored Denver 60-37 in the second half. 6 players were in double figures. Karl Anthony Towns, man, I just want to stop for a second and give him his due, because
Yes.
he could have easily this year just checked out. With the way Anthony Edwards ascended on that team, there are so many other players, and we've seen it over and over again, where the guy who had been the unquestioned number one would just take his ball and go home and wouldn't participate in the same way anymore. And I think Karl got better. Actually, I think that he not only bought in, that he worked on his game and he's the best he has ever been as a player, and I've just been so impressed. He 23-12 last night, and he is the reason, by the way, to me, that they were even able to have a comeback, because in the first half, almost no one else was doing anything. And Karl was the one who was over and over again showing up for that team in the first half, kept them just close enough to get there and then have that great comeback. So, I just want to make sure people recognize his part of this as well. And then the defense overall was exceptional. They held Denver to 41% on field goals, 24% on threes. Jokic and Murray only 2 in double figures. Everybody else was struggling to score. So, look, I can't say enough about how impressive Minnesota has been. But I want to know from you guys, did you expect this when it was halftime? Were you like, this game is over? What did you think going into and during this game?
I would definitely say, towards halftime, it looked as if, Denver kind of had this in the bag. Obviously Denver is a tough place to play. You got the altitude against you, and obviously they're the defending champs. The experience is there. This is a team that's been there time and time again. They've seen the ups and downs of the playoffs. So I feel like at halftime everything was pointing towards them coming out of this series successfully. But man, oh man, there's some dogs. There's some dogs on the other end of that floor, man, and there's some young dogs. They're full of heart. They're full of energy, good energy. And obviously that starts with, the young cat Anthony Edwards. But you said it first, Rach. Karl Anthony Towns performed greatly. He's been a great sport about, becoming a number 2 option. And I mean, for me on the outside looking in, when you have a talent like Anthony Edwards, that's not a hard decision to make. I mean, I know we want to give him his credit, but this ain't some bum we talking about that's the number 1 option. Like this,
No,
this
of course.
this is a future Hall of Famer. We can all sit here and say that. He's that good. He's the real deal. He's a superstar, and in my opinion, the new face of the NBA. So, I don't think that was a hard decision for Cat. And Hoopers respect Hoopers. When it's a talent, it's easy to fall in line. And I think Cat made the right choice with, being cool with this and, falling into that second option, which I think will help extend his career. And not only that, I think he'll become a better player from this because, me and IT can both, speak on this. Being that number 1 option is fucking hard. Like, And it's a responsibility that comes with that every single night, to where, you get the blame for everything, and that shit can start to, it can get to your mental, So kind of sliding into that second option, it's a little less responsibility, but it's more of a comfort level there, and you can be more of yourself, which I feel like Cat has now become. So I think that was an easy choice for him. But for me, the biggest X factor in this entire series that isn't getting the credit I feel he deserves is Jay McDaniels, Seattle kid, by the
Yeah.
way.
Tacoma kid. Tacoma
Tacoma
kid.
kid. Oh, my bad, my bad, my
Tacoma
bad.
kid.
Tacoma, I know it's a difference.
Yeah.
My bad, my
It's
bad.
all good. It's
Yeah,
all
my
good.
bad.
We
No
just had to
disrespect.
fix that.
Yeah, no disrespect. But I don't think he's getting the shine that he deserves. And when we talk about the defensive anchor, obviously the narrative is Rudy Gobert, but that kid is the defensive anchor of this team. And I think he's shown it time and time again. And for some reason, we highlight every word that Anthony Edwards says, and obviously so. I mean, he's entertaining. He says all the right things. You love to hear him talk, but he's not just talking to talk. When he speaks, it's facts. It's facts behind it. And he said it in round one
He did
when
in
they
the
asked
interview,
about
right?
Kevin Durant. He said, "Well, we got Jay McDaniels," and it's a
Yep.
reason he said that. And this kid
In
has
the
been the
post game interview last night, Boogie, I don't know if you get, I don't know what you broadcast you get over there, but last night on the TNT broadcast, they interviewed him, and Ali asked some version of, who's the reason you won this game, and he just answered right away. He said Jaden McDaniels,
and I agree
within
with
the
him. I'm
team.
definitely not getting the TNT broadcast. Those niggas.
I bet not.
I missed out on that one, but he's 100% correct. He's the defensive anchor of this Minnesota team, and I just want to make sure he gets the credit he deserves, because not only is he their best wing defender and defender in general, he's also playing on the offensive side of the ball. He ended the game with 23 points. So I think this kid's future is going to be really bright, and he's definitely on his way to a big payday. So I just want to make sure he gets the credit he deserves.
And your guy Naz Reid, Boogie, who has been
Oh,
championing since
hey, man,
October.
that's my guy, bro. I love Nas
he
Reed, man.
He put it up, man. I mean, he was amazing. Isaiah, I just didn't know if you could talk a little bit more about the defensive effort from the Wolves and what that did to the Nuggets, because the Nuggets looked dead by the end of that game. I mean, they look so tired. What did you see, and how does that feel when you're on the court facing that?
They just warmed down. I mean, you see, Anthony Edwards was having a tough game in the first half, even the start of the third quarter, but he just stayed picking up Murray full court. Even though Murray had a great first half, he just stayed at it, warmed down, possession by possession. And you see that in the box score as well with the Denver Nuggets. Like, they usually have 5 or 6 guys in double figures. They had 2. Like, that says a lot about them taking away the role players and also making it tough on Joker and Jamal Murray. So they just stayed with what they knew, and they laid their hat on the defensive end. They obviously was able to make some big plays offensively, like you just mentioned. Nas Reed was huge in the fourth quarter, like play after play. Gobert was huge on offense. Like, he got a few and ones, had the fadeaway jump shot. Like, you knew it was something when he hit the fadeaway buzzer beater. Like, and it was all net. And then Anthony Edwards, exactly, and then just ran back like that was just in his bag. So you seen a lot from a Minnesota Timberwolves team that you wouldn't expect. Like, they looked like they had championship experience. They were never rattled, even though they were down 20 at halftime. Like, they took it possession by possession, and you seen it. Like, and then when the energy turned and the momentum turned, it was all she wrote. Like, that.
Yeah.
That's the definition of a team. You could tell those guys don't just like playing with each other. They play for each other. And that's the definition of what they got going over there. And it's energy on a 10 at all times. So, like, you got to tip your hat to a team like that came in to the defending champs home court in a game 7 and turned the whole game around in the last 24 minutes of the game. So that team is special, and they got something good this year for sure.
Yeah, Ant said in the press conference after the game, someone asked him, when did you know you really had this? He's like, oh, when Rudy hit that turnaround fadeaway. He's like, okay. He's like, from then on, he's like, I'm good. It's interesting. You make the point about who had double figures or not. Denver did not invest in its bench this offseason. They let guys go. They didn't replace them. They have a very young bench. And I just remember when LeBron and Dwayne, those Heat teams that were winning finals, one of the backbreakers that cost them an additional third title together was Mike Miller was not brought back because ownership decided it's going to cost us too much. And they could have within the salary cap, but they would have had to pay more luxury tax, things like that. And I just think when you have a team that has won, that is the time to pour your money into it. It's not the time to pull back.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen it a couple times now, and I do think that was a huge part of why Denver lost this series. It's also the 6th year in a row that the defending champ has not advanced past the second round. I mean, that's crazy. The last team to do it was Golden State in 2019. I don't know if that's exhaustion, or what do you think, Boog? Is that just something about how much more competitive the league is now?
No, that falls on ownership.
Yeah.
Cheap ass owners. Let's just call it a buck. There's no reason you shouldn't have.
You mean in general, not Denver specifically.
We talking about Denver because the last year I was there, we were literally practicing around a bucket where it was a leak in the ceiling. So it doesn't even make sense. So we're gonna call it out. It's a cheap ass owner. It's no reason you shouldn't have brought Bruce Brown back after the way he contributed to that championship team. I would say, outside of Jokic and Jamal, he might have been the third most important piece to that championship team.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So it's no reason for him not to have been brought back. The bench was and I'm not going to go out on a limb and say their bench was trash because I don't want to shit on anybody, but it smells something similar. And with that being said, it was just so inexperienced. Outside of Reggie Jackson, you don't really have a lot of experience. DeAndre Jordan didn't really see minutes, and obviously so with being behind Jokic. But, you got young kids like Peyton and Chris Braun, and they just don't have the experience to play, at a championship level and actually contribute. So that falls on ownership. And like you said, after a team wins a championship, that's the time to go all in. That's when you want to spend because obviously you're going to get that return back. So that falls on ownership. Being cheap and, second round exit. That's how it works. If you want to win, you got to spend. That's how it goes.
Yeah. You definitely, like you said, if I'm winning the championship, I'm doing everything I can to bring back my main guys. They contribute to the championship, whether it costs money or not. Like you gotta, if you're trying to repeat, that's hard to repeat with new guys on that bench. They haven't really been in those situations. They haven't really had those experiences with this type of team. So you've seen it fall down on them in Game 7. Like we said, they're a team that's usually 5 guys in double figures. Everybody's sharing the sugar. They really went 2-on-5 the last 24 minutes to where nobody was really getting shots. Nobody was capitalizing on anything. It was really the Joker and Jamal Murray show, which they just died down. They're human. We seen it in the other series too, over on the East Coast. Guys just died down, and that's gonna happen when the guys are playing heavy minutes and every possession is for them to make something happen. That's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I do think the competitive balance in the NBA is a thing, and we've talked about it a lot the last few weeks. That the international players really being such forces in the league, it's not something, look, 20 years ago, it certainly wasn't the case. And I'm not sure it was even the case 7 years ago. You have a team where, you have these teams led by guys like Jokic, like Giannis, by, even Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not American. You've got guys around the league who are raising the level of other teams' game. And I just think we do have more teams that you could say, oh, they could win a title. Luka Doncic, they could win a title. And I do think it makes it harder for everyone else and more exciting for the fans because anyone can win on a given day. What do you guys think with the...
Rach, I got one more thing. Shout out to Tim Connolly. Like
Yeah.
he built Minnesota to beat Denver. Like he
Yep.
looking like this. He in the crowd was like this. He was probably like, yeah, say something. When everybody was, shitting on them about making the trade for Goldberg at one point and saying it wouldn't work. Like he really slowly built the team to beat the defending champs with the team he had built previously. So we got to give a shout out to Tim Connelly. He's doing something right over there.
Amen. I
Honestly,
mean, look, he built both teams.
Exactly.
Seriously.
Exactly.
honestly, it wasn't slowly built. He built that shit in a year.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yep.
Quick,
yeah,
for
Yep.
sure.
it was right off.
Quick.
He knew the plan right away. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he
definitely
had
shout out to
some.
Tim Conley. Still pissed
Yeah,
at you,
for
but
sure.
shout out to Tim Conley, man.
Yeah, no doubt. You know how it go.
Never returned my call, but it's all
Yeah,
good.
yeah, for real. You know how that go. That's
I was
Man,
going to
crazy.
say. What's up, friends? It's conference finals time, the best time of the year. Games every night with the Final Four duking it out. Now, even though the season is winding down, there is still plenty of time to get in on the action with our partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, all new customers who deposit just $5 will get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500. That's amazing. Get a bonus bet back in the amount of your original bet if your first bet doesn't hit. Even if you lose, you still win with our partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. If it sounds too good to be true, it isn't. New customers who deposit just $5 will get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500. Returning customers, don't worry. DraftKings is making sure to hook you up as well. All returning customers can score a no-sweat NBA bet also. And if sports betting isn't yet legal in your state, well, you can still join in on the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have a shot to win cash prizes. So what are you waiting for? Go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use our promo code BULLYBALL and deposit just $5 and get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500. That's promo code BULLYBALL only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Have you ever wondered if Chet Holmgren might be a descendant of Abraham Lincoln? Or if a UFC fighter could beat an alien in a fight? Well, maybe you haven't, and that's okay. But Shea Serrano and Jason Concepcion from Six Trophies, well, they certainly have. If you're like me and you like to listen to as many good basketball podcasts as you can, after you're done listening to Bully Ball, you gotta listen to Six Trophies. Every week, Shay and Jason serve up the biggest moments from around the NBA with their patented mix of joy, banter, pop culture side quests. They also hand out 6 pop culture themed trophies for 6 basketball related activities. Stuff like the Denzel Washington in Training Day trophy that's given out to a player or team having the best week around the NBA, or the Lauryn Hill You Might Win Some, but You Just Lost One trophy for the team or player that just can't get it together. Plus a bunch more trophies for all the good, bad, or just plain head-scratching moments around the NBA. So follow Bully Ball, but also follow 6 Trophies on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. Or you can listen ad-free by joining Wondery Plus. Let's talk about the team that Minnesota is going to face next, the Mavericks. Look, that was a hard-fought series, came right down to the very end of the very last game. They beat the Clippers. They beat the Thunder from the position of being a 5 seed. And I don't know. What do you guys make of that series coming up?
yeah.
It's gonna be a good series, man. You see Anthony Edwards already say, my matchup is Kyrie, so I'm gonna see what he can do. He can do with this. So like that type of energy, look, that type of energy rubs off on your teammates. Like if your head
Yeah.
leader's already saying stuff like that, you like, all right, let's get it cracking. So it's gonna be a good series. Luka and Kyrie is gonna be something special in the Western Conference Finals. You've seen that they pulled that together against a tough and well-coached OKC team. But it's something with them Timberwolves. Like they're not afraid to say anything. They're not afraid to rub anybody's feathers wrong. Like they're not trying to be nobody's friend. Like they really accepting the challenge of anybody and everybody, and they're standing on business. Like they're standing on business when it comes to the talk and talking the talk, but walking the walk. But you
Yep.
definitely got to know it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy because the Dallas Mavericks are well coached. They got some young guys that are playing out of their mind, and Lively and
Yep.
PJ Washington, guys that's never seen the playoffs, is taking advantage of their opportunity. So I got Minnesota, but I think it's going to go 6 to 7 games for sure. It's going to be back and forth and a lot of good action in this series. Like I can't wait for the competition for sure.
Well, one, I'm a firm believer in, defense wins championships. And obviously, I feel like the best defensive team coming out of the West is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Once again, I spoke on the kid earlier. I think Jaden McDaniels, this is another opportunity for him to display his defensive talent. I think that matchup between him and Luka will explain a lot. I think he'll make the game very tough for Luka. A 6'11" frame, I don't think Luka's used to that type of a defensive matchup. I think what helped Dallas, getting through this last series, outside of their star play in Kyrie and Luka, was the big man matchup. I think their bigs just had way more experience than a young Chet Holmgren. That's not necessarily the case when it comes to Minnesota's bigs.
That's for sure.
Minnesota bigs, they're the real deal. So I don't think they're as dominant when it comes to Rudy Gobert, a Naj Reid, and a Karl Anthony Towns. I think their responsibilities become a lot tougher this round. So for me, I see Minnesota coming out of the West. I do think the games will go to a 6 or 7 game series, but for me, I see Minnesota pulling out this series.
I think that's going to be an amazing playoff series. I am going to be glued to my television. You're totally right about the defensive efforts. And Anthony Edwards, when he wasn't shooting last night, played great defense. And the ability to do that it's for a young player. I think we don't see that often. We don't see them buckling down and being like, great, what else can I do? They get a little obsessed with their shot. They keep trying to force it. And instead, he played great defense. So that matchup between him and Kyrie, which it's just unbelievable that he.
Look, it's gonna be box office. It's gonna be box office. That's how you can tell nobody's calling Kyrie Irving out. Like nobody's doing that. Nobody's accepting that challenge like that defensively. So there's something in the water over in Minnesota. Like them boys is ready. Not saying he's gonna stop Kyrie, but like to have that type of confidence, it's like let's get it cracking. So that's big time of a 22-year-old to do something like that.
Yeah, a 22-year-old to call out a future Hall of Famer and be like, and by the way, one of the best guy around the hoop that we've ever seen.
For sure.
Great handles, the whole nine. So I just for him to do that. And I'm curious how Kyrie will respond, because especially the back half of that series with Oklahoma City, he was the whole series. He was never able to have a breakout game because the Thunder, they are a legit defensive force, and the team defense they play is really strong, and they were able to buckle down on Kyrie in a way that he really hadn't seen in these playoffs. He had some breakout games against the Clippers. That did not happen in this last series. So the defense is only getting better. Minnesota, the number one defense in the league this year, anchored by the Defensive Player of the Year. And I know the controversy over that, but you can't argue with where Minnesota finished. And I just think it will be a very different series for them. I do think, though, that team is so finely tuned and built around Luka Doncic. And I think that we need to give Nico Harrison credit for that, because first-time GM, there was some criticism of some of his early moves, obviously the Jalen Brunson thing. And I honestly don't remember if Nico was there for that, but it was a move from ownership. That there's been criticism of what Dallas has done with their personnel over recent years. And the fact that they were able to make the trades at the deadline, have confidence in those trades when not everybody did, and get those role players playing as well as they did. I don't know. I think it's going to be a great series. I'm very excited about it. I do want to, by the way, just call out before we move on to the East. You mentioned Derek Lively, and he posted on Instagram last night about his mom, who died of cancer earlier this year. I think she was just 52, just really, really sad and difficult. And he just basically said, I love you. I miss you. Just sit back and watch, Mama. And that was, to be able to play the way he does, considering some of the personal stuff he's gone through and who he's playing for, I think is really touching and effective. So
for sure, he's doing his thing during a tough situation. He's doing his thing. So shout out to him for sure.
Isaiah, you know all about that. I mean, you were
Yeah.
dealing with the death of your sister, and sometimes, those tragedies can undo you or they can power you. And what he's been able to do has been exceptional, just like with you. So I'm very
And
impressed.
being around your teammates in these hostile
Mhm.
environments, that just only makes it, that much a little easier because you got your
Yeah.
brothers around you, supporting you, helping you through those tough times. I be feeling like, especially when I was going through it, it's like when you get back to the crib, that's when that shit's tough. When
Right.
you're
Of
around
course.
your teammates and around the arena and all that love, that's like helping him out as much as it can. So, shout out to him. Prayers to him and his family. Good luck moving forward as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. All right, let's move on to the East. Indiana, a historic offensive performance versus a shorthanded Knicks team. I mean, 67% from the field. That has literally never been done before. I mean, that is bananas in a play. I think it's in any playoff game, certainly in a game seven. 54% from three, six players in double figures. Halliburton, who has had an uneven series, dropped 26. Siakam dropped 20. And I just want to give them their due first because I know we're going to talk about the Knicks' health and the Knicks are the team everyone talks about, but to walk into Madison Square Garden in a game seven and be a young team that most of the guys have never played in a game seven in that situation before and stand up the way they did. I don't care who's on the other end and how beat up they are. I thought that was super impressive. The confidence that they came in with, the belief and the activity. Game sevens in some ways are can kind of be crazy and all over the place. And they kept their focus and concentration. They played their game, the pace of it, the way they were playing. So I just want to make sure people appreciate that this was a very hard thing to do, no matter what was going on with the Knicks. And then, of course, on the other side, the Knicks had some health problems. To the understatement of the year, when OG Anunoby came out for warmups, it did not look good. And then when the game started, he just couldn't defend. And he scored 5 points in the first few minutes and gave them a little boost on offense. But when the Pacers went at him on the other end, they were 4 for 4 against him, and he had to come out. So I don't know. What do you guys make of that game overall and sort of how the Pacers won?
I think they played to their strengths, which is, their youth and their speed. And I think they realized that this Knicks team was starting to wear down. So I think they continued to put their foot on the gas and, they made the best of their situation, which led to them being successful. Obviously, coming into this series, I thought the Knicks were the favorite to come out. But, I mean, you hate to kick a man while he's down, but this is a typical Tibbs movie. Like it's like going to see a Fast and the Furious movie. You know exactly what the fuck's gonna happen at the end of that shit. So
I know, but those are still really good movies.
and you're still gonna go watch it, but you know exactly what's gonna happen, bro. So
Yes.
it's like, man, I feel like this series was the Knicks to win. It's just, history repeats itself, which we said before. It's just not a recipe for success. I mean, playing seven guys an entire playoff run, that's really, really hard to do. And at the end of the day, these guys aren't machines. They're human beings. Like, we wear down. That's just, it's a natural thing. It's natural instinct. Like, your body wears down, your energy wears down. It happens. And Tibbs got to figure out a new recipe, man. Like, you can't keep cooking out of the same cookbook, bro, and expecting, a different flavor. Like, it's gonna be the same thing over and over and over again. So, you obviously you want to give credit to this Pacers team, but I think the Knicks lost this series. I don't think the Pacers went and won it. I just think the Knicks went and lost this series, and that's how it played out.
For sure. I give a shout out to the Pacers though. The crazy thing about game sevens, it's like the NCAA tournament, like that one day, like somebody can be on fire, like somebody can have a career, like that. Those game sevens are so tough because anything can happen and it's one game. And that's what Indiana did. Like, they stuck to what they were great at. We're going to push the pace, try to score 130 points, which they did. and then see if the Knicks can keep up. Like Indiana hit shots, and I think that's what gave them their energy. And they knew the Knicks was down bad. They knew, like, at the end of the day, like Boog said, like, they're human. Like, we're gonna see if they can play catch up the whole game. We're gonna see if they can run with us the whole game. And they did that. And it backfired on the Knicks. Obviously they had injuries, but like that's tough to do what they did. Like they gotta make some real adjustments. I feel like they gotta add a star player to take some responsibility off of, Jalen Brunson, because he had a lot. Like he did his thing in the playoffs, but he played a lot of minutes. And like we've seen time and time again, it doesn't last as long as you need it to. Like even if they won that series and was going to play the Celtics, that was going to be tough to play 6 to 7 guys that many minutes against a team well equipped like them. So at some point it was going to die down, and it just bit them in the behind. Game 7 at home. Like you never thought the Knicks would lose a game 7 at home with all those celebrities in the building. Like you thought it was game 7 of the NBA Finals. How many people was in the building? So it was a tough situation for the Knicks to go out like that. But like we always said, like it was going to end like that at some point, just because those guys are human and they got no rest, and they had some major injuries, like some pivotal injuries that you just can't fight through.
And to piggyback off of that, like,
go ahead.
Sorry, Rach, but to piggyback off of that, you don't want to sit here and just put this narrative on Tibbs like he injures his players, but the fact of the matter is, one, when you play guys that many minutes, it obviously increases the risk of injury. Like, so that's just how they go hand in hand. On top of that, Tibbs this is no knock. Outside of Jalen Brunson, Tibbs has a team full of role players. Like, so it's only so far those guys can take you. To expect and I love DiVincenzo. He was a teammate of mine. He's a great teammate. He's a talent. He worked his tail off. He is. But he's not a 20-point per game scorer. Like that's not who he is. The offensive bag just isn't deep enough. And to expect him to average 20, 25 on top of being a guy playing 48 minutes, Jalen Brunson playing 48 minutes, he has to average 40 just for you to have a chance at winning the game. Those just aren't, that's not realistic. Like, so the point I was going to make, I do like this Knicks team. I do think they have a great foundation right now, and I do think they have a bright future. But I think going into the offseason, they're going to have to make some important changes, not just like draft. They have to make important changes, and I think it's some guys out there that fit into that, that culture and in that style of play. And I think it starts with a wing scorer to take some of the pressure off Brunson. You got guys like Bradley Beal, and even though he has a trade clause in his deal, I'm pretty sure he'll be open to going to the Knicks to play there. You obviously got a guy, and Jimmy Butler is not. I don't think the paradise is shining as much as it was in Miami at one point. Pat Riley came out with some pretty wild, comments. Jimmy Butler has a history with Tibbs, so you can see a guy like that fitting in well. So I do think they can make some, changes in the offseason that'll get them over the hump and improve this team drastically. But, it's gonna take them making some really important decisions this offseason.
Well, look, when you look at the Tibbs factor and the injuries and all of that, I think it's both is the answer, because Tibbs has not made the conference finals since 2011, 13 years, and he's only missed 1 year of that coaching. So clearly there is something about the way he plays his guys, because he's an excellent X and O coach. The adjustments he made throughout the series were great. He just has had a reputation with running those players into the ground. It's why he is voted again. I think it was the third year in a row when they did the players survey. He was voted the coach that players who don't play on the Knicks currently would least like to play for. Now, his team loves him. That's kind of all you need. But around the league, I think guys see the minutes that he puts on these guys during the year, and they don't want to have their careers affected by that. So that's all real. However, I want to make the point that these injuries this year, I don't think they had much to do with being run into the ground. Julius Randle hurt his shoulder when someone fell on him. We had, I'm going to go through these. Mitchell Robinson, as we saw with the Joel Embiid incident, that's not an overuse injury, right? Julius Randle got hurt after taking a charge. Bojan Bogdanovic, someone fell on him. Even in this last game, Jalen Brunson broke his hand in this game when he was trying to make a steal. That is not an overuse injury. Now, OG Anunoby, hamstrings, those are overuse. So you can point to that one. But I do think that there was just a lot of bad luck with how a bunch of these guys got injured. And that's why he ended up playing these guys so much in the playoffs, because there just wasn't anyone left. He had to kind of put everyone out there. And I just think we have to keep that in mind when we talk about the Knicks this year and Tibbs and his reputation and what he did or didn't do. Most of those injuries came with incidents that happened on the court, not sort of that overuse thing where we saw OG just kind of like him give out on a play. And that's different. But I think we have to remember how a lot of these guys got hurt. So there's that. And then you guys talking about what the Knicks need going forward. IT, what do you think Julius Randle's role on this team is going to be once he gets healthy?
I'm not sure. Like, you know how quick the NBA turns on you. It's tough. Like, he's an all NBA type of guy, all star. But it's like, if we got this far without him, like, you think we could push it a little further? Like, I'm not sure what they got in mind for a guy like Julius Randle. Hopefully he stays and he's still in the mix with the Knicks, because he definitely makes, like, if they had him, I think it would have been tougher for Indiana to win for sure. But you just never know how they look at it. Like, Julius Randle is a special talent, but you know how the teams are. Like, it's like, what have you done for me lately? Especially if you've been injured. It can be that we might have seen him play his last game in the Knicks uniform. You just never know. Like, I'm not guaranteeing that. Like, I know he does make the Knicks better, but is that in the Knicks' future plans? Like, so I'm not sure what they do. Like Boog said, like, I feel like you definitely need a wing scorer and a guy that can defend as well. Like, and to take some responsibility off of Jalen Brunson, because he has to do everything. And like Boog said as well, I don't want Dante and Josh Hart to have to do all these things that they're doing. Like, their games ain't meant to play 47 minutes and get 20 to 25 points a game. That's not what they're built to do. Obviously, they can do that, but for you to be a championship caliber team, those guys don't need to be doing those things on a nightly basis. So the Knicks have a lot of decisions to make. Hopefully Julius Randle is in the plans, because he's a hell of a player, all-star caliber player. But you just never know what their thoughts are moving forward.
You think he plays for the Knicks next season, Boog?
No. No.
Oh, man.
Style of play thing, or?
Like IT said, the NBA moves quickly and they turn on you quickly. We've both experienced it. One day you can be at the mountaintop, the next day, you're out of their plans, or, we're moving in a different direction, or you don't really fit the style of the team. So I definitely think obviously there's a chance he could be back, but I feel like he's in a gray area right now. And I don't think the Knicks really know what they want to do moving forward yet. But I don't think they're in the worst situation. Obviously, you have your star in Jalen Brunson. I think this team, I think they do know who they want to build around, which is the more important decision, which is Jalen Brunson. But who you put around him is going to be very important. And that's why I said they have some very important decisions to make this offseason.
Well, look, some of the guys you brought up would have to come through trade. You didn't mention any free agents, so maybe Julius Randle gets thrown into one of those packages. We'll have to see, but it is going to be an interesting offseason.
It might be better for him to get up out of there too.
It might be.
I think so.
It might be a better situation for him. So he ain't fighting against being the leader of the team, fighting against being the man. And then he's been injured the last 2 years, like season-ending injuries. So like you might want a new fresh some fresh air somewhere else. But you like you guys say, you never know. You never know
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
Yeah. We'll see.
I just
want to
want
move
my
on to
guy to be healthy. I just want him to be healthy and get back right.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I want to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. The team's still playing, and IT, I don't know how you feel. You consider them your Celtics, at this point in your life, but I assume you're rooting for them as they go forward here. And just it's going to be an interesting matchup to see. Look, Indiana is an underdog. There's no other way to say it, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can assert themselves in this series or not. And then the Celtics, I have sympathy for Celtics fans and the Celtics themselves because they kind of feel like they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. If they beat a team by 20, it's like, oh, you haven't really had any real competition. And if they struggle against a team, it's like, why are you struggling against this team? It's been true, by the way, because, when they struggle or they drop a game to Miami that has, doesn't have a bunch of their key guys, you drop a game to just a team that doesn't have Donovan Mitchell out on the floor
Yeah.
because he's sitting on the bench. I mean, I understand the criticism and I also understand the frustration of the Celtics players. You can only play who is in front of you, and they have won in dominant fashion. And there will be, no matter what happens in the series, people saying, oh, they had the easiest walk to the finals ever. You can only play who's in front of you. And I just think it's going to be interesting to see whether Indiana can assert itself here. What do you think, Boog?
I'm gonna be polite and say it's a gentleman's sweep on the way. And my
Okay.
and my heart is telling me a sweep, but like I said, I'll be polite and say a gentleman's sweep. I think the Pacers will be able to pull off, a win in their first home game. The energy will be crazy, all of those things. But this Celtics team has been dominant all year. They've been dominant throughout the playoffs. The only time they really lose is when they get bored or uninterested, which is crazy to even say in an NBA setting. But it hasn't really been a matchup for them in the Eastern Conference this entire year, and it's not going to start now. This team has been here time and time. Shit, they've been here since IT was doing this thing there. So,
They've been there every year.
man, this team is full of experience. They've been here. They've been locked in for the entire year. They're built for this moment. They have probably one of the most well constructed rosters I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Just the Pacers overachieved this year, and I think they should be very happy about that. They know they have something to build, their future on. They found their foundational pieces.
Mm-hmm.
They got their coach. Everything is moving in the right direction for this Pacers team. But I think they hit their stride. Like this is the end once they meet up with this Celtics team. And I'm trying to be as I don't
I
want to shit
feel
on
you.
them. I don't want to shit on them, but I'm just it's more so it's no knock to the Pacers, but more credit to the Celtics. They're just that dominant. And we've been calling the Celtics to be at this moment all year long since, the beginning of the season. So like I said, it's not going to change now. So I think they'll get a game. And that'll be good for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like the Celtics are definitely the more dominant team in this series. I got them winning it, but I do got Indiana. I don't think they're gonna blow them out every game, Boston. I think it's not gonna be blowouts like we think, but I think it's gonna be 4-1. I think Indiana will win one game at home. They've been exceptional at home all playoffs. They're gonna have some good energy. But Boston is just, especially if Porzingis comes back at some point, you never know if he's going to come back or not. But I just think they're the better team overall, and they're going to get to the finals again for sure.
Yeah. The home and road thing, the home and road thing is real. I mean, that's going to be a little rubber meets the road thing for this series because Boston has been 4-2 at home. It's not as bad as everyone thinks. It's not 50-50. I know that over the last 3 years, they were 500 at home, blah, 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 blah in the playoffs. But this playoffs, they're 4-2 at home, which is respectable. But they are 4-0 on the road. And Indiana is 6-0 at home, 2-5 on the road. So those games in Indiana, where the Celtics have had so much success on the road and the Pacers have had so much success at home, I think are going to be pretty interesting, a little bit tooth and nail. So we will see what happens. I have tremendous respect for both teams and think the Celtics are going to be pretty dominant. So we'll see.
For sure.
All right. Again, I'm wearing my shirt here. This is a cute logo, by the way. I think this is like their secondary logo, Boog.
I can't even really see it. I can't see it.
All right. I'll send you a picture afterward.
All right, for
sure. we got to take a peek at what you have been doing over there. We've had the Chronicles of Boogie, which we got to watch last week. IT, I don't know if you caught it, but I want to show you guys chapter 2. Take a look.
Learning the system, finding my legs, finding my wind, pushing myself, helping my conditioning, building chemistry with the guys, learning the guys, allowing them to learn me, figuring out tendencies, figuring out what the coach is looking for. I want to come in and fit in and push this team to new heights.
Well, I think the main challenge is that we don't have a lot of time, and obviously us playing with him is, it's a blessing, and it's our job to make sure that works seamlessly in a short period of time. But you need elite talent to win championships, and I think Boogie definitely brings us closer to that.
Man, it always feels good to win. You know what I mean? So, victorious day. I left out the shooting champion today.
We want to fight for home court advantage in the playoffs. With Boogie coming in the last 3 games of the season, that adds a different threat that we didn't necessarily have.
Well, he's obviously a phenomenal talent. He's an enormous body with unbelievable hands, the ability to shoot, to pass, to play on the block, to dominate people physically. And I don't think there's a talent, anything close to that in the league right now. So, you have to learn how to play through that, because he's obviously in a great position to be a go-to guy for us, and someone we can play through, because he can, get us some buckets, but he can also be really unselfish and make everyone around him better, which is his unique ability, in my opinion.
I knew it would be a process, so just to see it kind of unfold and start to slowly happen for me, everything's coming together at the right time.
But on a more serious note, this is the point, where we lock in. We right there, fellas. We got a little bit more to go. 7 wins. That should be we should have that number. 7 wins, we will be champions.
7 wins times 48 minutes. It's roughly 350 minutes of basketball where we have to show urgency on every position. We do that, we're champions in a month. Let's get after it, let's go.
It's about every man fighting for the next man. Game 1, show's about to begin.
We have the leading scorer, leading assist per game player in Lassonde, and then now we added Boogie into that frame. I like our chances.
It's like coming down, I feel like we can just verbally talk to each other mid-play. I'm like, yo, about to come off screen, pop. If he don't, I'm gonna attack him. It's like, defender's looking like, man, he right, what can I do? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's the kind of advantage I feel like we have on this team with it.
This is what real hoop players enjoy when it comes to the game, playoff basketball.
6秒钟，四十度角，再来3大，这球转身之后，不要想来长手，这球别想
I love it.
Hell yeah.
Finals. Boog, last week we saw a lot of you off the court, going to the zoo, getting lost on your way to a restaurant, all that kind of stuff. I love that we got so much on the court in this one. And the clip of you talking to the team, leading the team, I would expect nothing less. And the dominance you're showing on the court. I firmly believe you should be on an NBA roster right now, but I also really love the fact that if that didn't happen this season, you still get to go hoop and, have those crowds screaming your name and all of the sort of things that come with the champagne soak locker room and those experiences, wherever in the world they are pretty cool. And it's
Absolutely.
fun to see that everywhere.
I
Always.
appreciate that, Rach.
Always.
Yeah, I had to come to that point, but you realize there's so much basketball out here, so many more experiences to make, and you can still enjoy this game wherever you decide to play it. So that's where I'm at.
And just to have that smile. Like that smile is
Absolutely,
everything,
man. You
bro.
know how this shit is, IT,
That
man.
smile
Once
on
you
your
get on
face
that
is
court, it don't
everything.
matter if it's the YMCA, it's
Yeah, it don't matter.
wherever. I mean, you get that feeling, that same feeling you got as a kid. So I'm embracing it, I'm having fun with it, and, I'm loving where I'm at in life. So it's all good.
Keep doing your thing.
I love it. I love it. Well, also, IT, you getting back on a roster and getting back in the league is an inspiring story in itself. And for both you guys, I just think you got bad turns by injuries and some management decisions after that. And I love the way both of you have just sort of continued to hoop. It's, again, super impressive. A lot of guys just check out, and neither one of you did that. And I think it's great. So there you go.
Appreciate you,
I'm wearing
Rach.
your shirt.
Appreciate you.
I'm
Appreciate
supporting.
you.
I'm ready for the finals. I'll be cheering Boogie. You see it. There we go.
Absolutely.
Everyone out there, you can catch all of the episodes of Bully Ball on the DraftKings Network, which is very cool, on the All the Smoke Productions YouTube channel. And of course, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast. Rate us, review us, tell us how much you love Boogie, tell us how much IT has brought to the show. We want to hear all the good comments. Tell me what you think of my shirt, which I expect to only be awesome. Thank you very much. We will check in and catch you next week. See ya.
Peace.